Did you know that online streaming is becoming the most powerful means of reaching a broader audience? Even major networks are transitioning from cable television to online streaming platforms. BGK is a Christian online TV network that is ahead of the curve. We specialize in virtual broadcasting, allowing leaders to broadcast right from their homes while sitting in the comfort of their customized studios. And as if that wasn't enough, you can have our very own broadcast production for as low as $25 per week. Yes, I said it, $25 per week. Wouldn't you love to have your studio right in the comfort of your home? Well, call us at 877-386-6207 and become a broadcast partner with BGK Broadcast Network.
Hello, I am Evangelist Virginia Bowie, the host of the Cafe Freedom chat show that airs Mondays at 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock p.m. If you have an inspiring, transformative word that you want to share, why not consider becoming a part of the BGK Network family? You'll be a blessing and you'll be blessed.
BGK 24/7 Online Christian TV Network. Making what was once impossible, possible.
Hi, and welcome back to another edition of Dinner Table Conversations with Apostle Dr. Stinson, hosted by our BGK partners. We are so glad that you have joined us on another day into our live studios. We are just happy. Again, we come to you by way of BGK, and if you need to get in touch with me, I can be reached at 1-866-200-9850 to remind you of our special going on right now. If you're ready to take your ministry to the next level, listen, we have a $25 special, and it is time. The new norm is here. So get in touch with us at www.bgknetwork.org. I am so happy to have this young woman back into the studios again with us. She's just written a new book. I am excited about it. I'm phenomenal. You already know her, but let me reintroduce you to Deborah C. Anthony. Hi, Deborah. How you doing?
Hi, I'm happy to be here. How are you?
I'm just fine. I am so excited about your new book. And you are an advocate writer. You write. But this book is about a journey about your passion. This is a sort of different book from what I've read, from the books that I've read from you, because you really open up about what happened to you, what has driven you to where you are today. This young, beautiful woman has 6 kids. Can you believe it? 6 of them. 6 of them, a set of twins, and she's just so friendly, and she's a branding coach. She really knows what she's doing. But in her new book, what drew me to this, A Journey to True Passion, the first thing you talked about is that getting fired. I had never heard it when I attended your book discussion. Getting fired was your Independence Day. How profound to share that with an audience. You so open up. And I'm not going to go into why you got fired, because I want you to introduce yourself and tell them why you got fired and how you call it now your Independent Day. After boohooing and crying and stuff like that, we're going to talk about that.
Yes. I'll tell you, when you're in the midst of things, you don't really see them for what they are. But I will never forget the day, July 1st, 2009. It is forever etched in my heart, because for me, it was unexpected. Not the fact that, you know how sometimes you think you've been with a company so long that they'll work through anything with you. I was with the company over 13 years. So,
Mm-hmm.
I never had any issues. It was never a point of they had previous concerns related to me. So this kind of took me by surprise. And what I mean by that, in the book I share, one day my boss came to me and said, "Hey, your name is, starting to come across my desk a lot." And I said, "Really?" And the accusations that they were sharing with him were just some outlandish. I'm like, "Well, that sounds really outlandish." And he said, "Okay, well, I'm just making you aware." And so at that present time, I had started an organization for young women called Chosen Daughters of Destiny, and I was passionate about changing the lives of women. And honestly, I was helping probably 200 women. We were in the Chicago public schools, going to the high
Mm-hmm.
schools, working with Harper High School at that time, and just really, I would say, living my dream of working my corporate job, working my nonprofit, and ministering to young women, really helping them. So I have to say, I never saw it coming, even though it came. And
Mm-hmm.
the next time my boss, he said, "They're investigating your computer time." And at that time, the iPhones had just came out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would do my work. I would do my business and personal on my phone. It was my
Mm-hmm.
work phone was my personal phone, and we mixed, but they gave us the phone. And they said, "We looked at the amount of time you spend on
Wow.
your personal time, your phone, and your
Mm-hmm.
computer, and the numbers are not matching, the work."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow. And
Mm-hmm.
I was a manager. And so, long story short, they felt that I was utilizing company time for my nonprofit. And they actually came to one of my events with a private detective, one of my conferences, and registered and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And so it really shocked me, because it was like the worst thing that could ever happen to a person related to believing that you're doing the will of God, and driving hard and doing your job. And I never got a bad review ever in my career. So for me, it was like, what do you mean? I mean, but the numbers didn't lie related to what they felt they could
Mm-hmm.
disqualify me for.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that day, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go. No, go ahead. Uh-huh.
So that
That day.
day, July 1st, my manager called me in the office, and he said, "We're just going to have to let you go." And I promise, I wept. And it was like the most devastating thing that ever happened to me, because my income was pretty significant. Um, and so it was just one of those moments where I never saw myself doing anything but what I was doing for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. 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 Wow. And that experience had you to write this book, which is going to encourage someone, because you say in the book, never believe that someone is not watching. And I'm paraphrasing. And never believe that someone is doesn't have their eye on what you're doing. So from that experience, Deborah, you write a lot about integrity, character, and accountability. Those are the first chapters. And you talk about, many people talk about integrity and leadership as if it's a light switch in our life that you can turn on and off. Why did you say that? Why do you believe that? Or what drove you to that? Was it this experience or just some of the experience? 2009, or 10 years now. What drove you to that?
Well, one of the things that I realized is that as being a leader, many times we're leading, whether we want to lead or we don't want to lead. We're leading something. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the challenges that I realized is that compromise was very prevalent. And
Mm-hmm.
compromise never starts out real big, it just starts out real
Mm-hmm.
small. And you push the envelope. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
strong points that I make in the book is that you can become so passionate about something that you become blinded by your passion, that you can't
Right.
see beyond your limits. So you don't even
Mhm.
see the borderlines anymore. And so
Mhm.
you begin to believe I was doing the work of ministry by ministering to young women, but I was so driven
Mhm.
by that I didn't
Mhm.
see the compromise that I was beginning to compromise my corporate job and not have
Mhm.
integrity and not have high levels of character. And
Mhm.
I didn't have that accountability in my life to say, hey, I think you're going a little beyond the limits in this. And so
Mhm.
that's kind
Mhm.
of where I began to really realize that passion, doing something very good with good intentions, can blind you.
Mhm. And you said that godlike integrity is defined as the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles and moral uprightness rooted in biblical standards. And so, what I believe you mean is that God is a God of honor. He's a God of fairness, a God of faith. What I believe that, and even just in the first chapter, you're really telling your reader that there's some lessons that we have to learn, and they're hard lessons. But it all has to come and bring to the table integrity. And so when not that there was anything wrong, and you can help me out what you're doing your nonprofit, but was it the right thing to do on company time? And I've been there. Okay, now I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, but I've gotten fired before, and I don't think it was for nonprofit. I think it was just unfairness to me. But after being fired, did you took a step back and really began to look at Deborah? How did that process look?
It honestly, it wasn't peaches and roses initially. I have to say, um, the initial was my being treated unfairly. I was going to sue. I was going to, everybody uses their phone. And I bet if they evaluated everyone. And I was sitting in a chair and I just literally heard the voice of the Lord and said, you're giving them too much credit. And
Mm-hmm.
he said, I fired you and your family
Yeah.
hired you.
Mm-hmm.
And I said,
Mm-hmm.
and he began to just come after. It's like he had my attention for the first time in my
Mm-hmm.
life, where I actually could hear him say, I applaud all your good deeds and your good efforts, but at
Mm-hmm.
this point,
Mm-hmm.
when I came home, my 6-year-old's whooping my 3-year-old and
Mm-hmm.
running and bossing everybody around, and all I saw was a cycle of I was very driven, career focused, and goal external focused. But this family God had trusted me with, I did not see them. I was blinded by all the other things that I felt I was called to do.
Wow. Wow. Do you think that's happening today?
Extremely happening. And as we're living in a time where we're being uh, homestead, I think there's a lot of realities that people are having to really see through having to be home and care for your children. You'll start seeing some of your blind spots because you'll be like, "Well, how did this child get like this?" Well, you were at work probably. You were very busy, very driven, and now we're having a moment to slow down and really evaluate
Mm-hmm.
really, the fruit thereof of what we've sowed. We're looking at
Mm-hmm.
it and we're like, some of this stuff is good fruit, and some of it, where did this come from? Why is it like this?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's what happened to my life, is that I began to see things that I was like, I couldn't believe they were happening. But I'm the mother, so it's like, well, how do you think it happened? You're either present or not present. And I wasn't present to some of the issues and things that were going on. And when but my daughter was about 8 years old, and she said, "Mommy, you want to help everybody else's daughter, but I don't feel like you want to help me." And
Wow.
that
How did
touched
that make
me.
you feel? How did that hurt you?
Um,
How did that make you feel?
it, it made me feel like a failure because I would have all the girls come over, they would spend the night, and I always was parents would call me with their troubled daughters, and I was ready to help and dive in. And so what it made me realize is that um, passion is a phenomenal thing. And I believe God given. He gave us that drive, that excitement to change lives, to see people. But what is your passion rooted in? And when I
Mhm.
really unpacked what my passion was rooted in, my passion
Mhm.
was rooted in my own brokenness from as a child and my
Mm.
struggles. And
Yeah, and you
so,
talk about that. Yeah, I don't want you, the brokenness as a child, you talk about that. That passion is, there's nothing wrong with passion, but it's how passion is driven, and passion is worth pursuing. Deborah, before we get too far, because I think this is another good book that you've written, but I want to write down, I want you to go back, and I'm going to read a section of this book that says, a misguided passion will cause pitfalls that you cannot see or even believe possible at the beginning of the aggressive pursuit of it. You might be thinking, what are you talking about? I'm only want to change people's life. I have been on many occasions. It has been many occasions that happened to great people who began with an intent to change lives through nonprofits, churches, and business. And they have good intentions. And so you said that passion is good intentions. But before we go into that segment, can you tell everyone how to get this book right now, Deborah?
yes, you can purchase this book at www.deborahcanthony.com. And I have a store and it links directly to Amazon. And you can get the book and go straight to Amazon, and Passion Beyond the Limits is sitting there waiting for you.
And so you talk about this is Dr. Sonia Stinson, dinner table conversations on the Rural Channel. I'm hoping that you have are enjoying Deborah C. Anthony. She is an awesome person, an awesome author. Listen, we have a special going on. You can take your ministry to the next level for only $25 a week. Just get in touch with us at bgknetwork.org and take time to download our mobile app. I know that many of us are on the go. Well, maybe not right now because we're in a stay-at-home situation. But as you are beginning to get out and get on the go, you can get us anywhere from your Google Store or Apple Store. Just download our app. Want to remind you that I also do have a book coming to Amazon, Vision Unleashed Legacy Ignited. If you're ready to move your vision to reality that creates a lasting legacy. I talk a lot about instructional and about how to move your vision to that reality that creates a legacy. This is a good book. We have a vision index, and you want to get it coming to Amazon soon. Deborah, let's go back to passion. And you talked about, like I said, you're very open. You were journaling. You're very open about how passion is good, but it can also cause pitfall. Your passion must be submitted to the one that gave it to you. You now go into the centeredness of God and how you have to look at passion in a different way. You said passion that creates change. And so when you wrote those sections of your book, you also had some private journal time that you really shared with the audience. Let's talk a little about that journaling and how journaling helps you develop that passion and guide that passion.
Well, one of the things that I really wanted my readers to know is real. I think that many times we share our journeys and people see the finished work of grace on our lives and they see our overcoming, but they don't see the struggle. And I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to share my journals because journals, I'm a life journaler. And the reason why, because journals help you see progress and they help you see growth and they allow you to see how far you've come. And I promise I can read some of the things that I wrote 20 years ago, 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
down to a
Mm-hmm.
year ago, and you begin to see levels of transformation. And I write really directly telling God how I feel. And I appreciate
Mm-hmm.
that he allows me that permission to have that relationship of honesty with him to say, you know what, I really don't have this figured out, or I really don't like what's happening to me. And
Mm-hmm.
and in that honesty it's birthed so much freedom to say he begins to expose the inner workings of my heart and really so
Mm-hmm.
I really feel journaling helps really get to the heart of the matter. Out of the abundance of the heart that mouth speaks
Mm-hmm.
and that pen writes. And so it's just one of those things that you begin to it was healing for me as well.
hmm And I journal a lot, and I encourage people to journal. But in one of your journals, and I'm going to say around September 2013, you said this hall that I find myself in is a frustrating place. It feels unending, and I think that it will never end. Why can't I get past on this one? Why doesn't a door just open up to my next place? I feel like an emotional wreck. And for what? Because this hall is unfamiliar. I'm going to stop there. And outright testing every aspect of who I am. It exposes my weakness to the maximum capacity, causing me to confront my fears and vulnerabilities as if I didn't know what they were. You wrote that in September of 2013. And so you know I'm an avid reader. You should know me by now. Why what was your mindset when do you remember? I know it's quite some time ago when you wrote that. Can you
Oh,
share a little bit of the
I'm very clear.
frustration? Okay.
Yes, it's called. So I called it my hall of transition, and
Oh
it wasn't
wow.
that
I like that.
fancy. The halls of
Mhm.
transition, and I
Mhm.
promise it wasn't that fancy when I was going through it. But that hall
Mhm.
of transition, what it really is, it's coming to the end of yourself. And
Mhm.
most of us, if you are a pursuer of God in any way, you will come to the end of yourself. Just keep going down that hall.
Mhm.
And as every door continues to close, that means there was something still in me, residue, I'll call it, that wasn't getting the lesson. So I tried to apply for several jobs, got turned down. I tried to go work for a ministry, and that fell apart. And every door that I kept going into begin to close on me, and I begin to come to the end of myself. And at the
Mhm.
end of myself was the beginning of God's plan for my life. And that is
Mhm.
I can't say that that's one of those moments where you're just so happy. And if mature believers used to say, in the by and by it'll make sense. It was one of those moments that you had to live through versus someone telling you, oh,
Mhm.
it'll work out. And you would hear people say it'll work out or
Mhm.
things will always work out.
Mhm.
But I promise, when you're going through a slow death and it feels like a death, but it was a death to who Deborah believed she was, and it was the
Mhm.
beginning of
Mhm.
who God wanted Deborah to be. And that
Mhm.
process, I can't. If anybody's ever gone through it, I don't think they'll say favorably it's the most wonderful, happiest time of their life.
And you go on to write in your journal because that was I like the way you said that was your point of hall of transition because I think that every 5 years you mentioned that we all go through some type of transition in our life, but you go on to say because the next chapter says I believe that's my enough is enough. And I'm sure I'm not going to get to that today, but you go on to say that in this book you said let me see if I can find it. You said I had to fight through it with all I knew so as not to repeat a cycle of pain and headache because of a because of refusing to submit to God's plan. When God exposed the area of my life that were beyond limits. It changed my entire direction. We all have those moments that we know the truth, at least are convinced we do. I promise the flesh is weak and the spirit, though it may be willing, it is often ignorant. Ignored, should I say. Ignored. And so, why did you say that? I mean, this is a journal entry, and you said the flesh is weak, but it is often ignored. Okay. Do you remember why that was the moment of your beyond limits, as you call it, your hall of transition, where you knew that this was the end? And you go on in the book to say you have to trust God, but we're not probably not going to get to that. But how are you feeling, Deborah, in this chapter when you decide to share this journal entry, which I think is around chapter 2? How were you feeling? What had something
At that
happened?
point, So there was just a consistent theme that the things that I kept trying and leaning in my ideas and my creativity, and I'm a pretty ambitious person. So
Okay.
some of us have this gift called make it happen. And I have one of them. It's not a gift of the spirit, but it's called make it happen. And so that gift was no longer working in my favor of being able to come up with a solution to find myself. And, one of the points I had reached and I shared in the book about I had expended all my credit cards trying to pay the mortgage because I had lost my job and there was no income. And I and got to my last credit card and I couldn't pay. And God had really just said, finally, you need me and you at the end of yourself. And it was that moment where it was like, oh, so you mean you want me to ask you to pay my mortgage?
Wow.
He said, yeah, you getting it.
We have about a minute. So Deborah, tell them again how to get this book from where all your outlets.
Thank you so much. You can get Beyond the Limits at deborahcanthony.com and go to the store and you can shop. And also we're on Amazon, Beyond the Limits. And I'm just so grateful for this opportunity to share with you all. Go out. If you're looking to discover and get on a journey to true passion, this is the book that will challenge you to get on that journey.
All right. We'll be bringing Deborah back. Listen, thank you for tuning in to Dinner Table Conversation with Apostle Dr. Sonia Stinson. To get in touch with me, just dial me at 1-866-200-9850. I have a new book coming to Amazon in about a week. It's called Vision Unleashed, Legacy Ignited. You are listening to Sonia Stinson on the Rural Channel Dinner Table Conversation, hosted by BGK. If you need to get in touch with BGK, give them a shout out at www.bgknetwork.com. Again, thank you. God bless you. Hey, I'll see you next time. God bless you. Matthew House comes from the scripture of Matthew 25:35. I was a stranger and you took me in. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was in prison and you came to visit me. That's how we developed Matthew House. 3 African American men who had the compassion and the love of people who are all veterans. My name is Dr. Sonia Ricketts Stinson and I am the Executive Director and the CEO of Matthew House.
Right now we're in the common room, which is also named as the day room. This is where most of our clients eat during the daytime. This is where they can watch TV. This is where they can socialize.
Hi, my name is Kirsten Dickens. I work as a nurse practitioner, one of the providers at Heartland Alliance Health. So here, Heartland Alliance has a number of outreach sites around the city, so linkage agreements with certain sites where we take our typical outpatient clinic model and bring it in to specific outreach sites, Matthew House being one of them.
Or they can go and get their public entitlement benefits, or helping with a storage bid, supplying the blankets, or supplying the toiletries. Cleaning supplies is something we take for granted. Other things that we have to get done. There's building maintenance that we have to take care of. There's the supported service at the program staff who have to definitely be here from 12 hours a day in order that the individuals are not in the heat and they're not in the cold. So we need your help. We need your financial support.
We need volunteers. You can go to our website at MatthewHouseChicago.org. There's a donation button, but most of all, we need funds. We need all that we can get to fix this building because these people need a place to be.
And I'm glad I'm here, and I will continue to be here until I'm not here anymore.